Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great so far learning from all these wonderful educational professionals. My name is Brianna Carnevale.
My name's Garry.
And we wanted to start our presentation just showing some of the highlights that as a district and the ENL program at Long Beach High School has been experiencing during this time of distance learning. So one of our biggest highlights has been the Remind app. So the Remind app has been amazing for communication with parents. We've been able to send screenshots of district documents and send these documents not just to the parents, but also the students. We've been able to post daily updates about our Google Classroom assignments. We can communicate with the students and the families in their native language using the translator. So Remind has been great, and a lot of our co-teachers also use this. The second success has been the Propio calling service. So we have an amazing ENL coordinator, Evelyn Daza. So she's pretty much the backbone to all of our successes. But for Propio, we were very fortunate for our district to purchase this calling service. So teachers that don't have the language support to communicate with different families can dial in using a number, and they're met with a live translator on the opposite end. They select the language that they need to communicate in with the families, and then the live agent then communicates with the families. So it's a great tool just to reach out to everyone and make sure that all families are receiving the information that's currently being posted from the district. We've also experienced a lot of rewarding conversations with parents and families. Just sending a simple message through Remind or making a phone call. These parents are so grateful. The guardians are extremely grateful for everything that we've been doing. Just a simple check-in. Hi, how are you? Can we help you? Do you need anything? So all around, I mean, Ashley and I have been finding that a simple phone call goes a long way. Our teaching assistants at the high school have been a huge support also. They're working with us to support us in the classroom, where they're making phone calls and also communicating with families to help set them up with Wi-Fi, and also just to kind of manage the phone calls a little bit more systematically. Ashley and I provide a lot of bilingual weekly updates via emails to the families and to the students. We're thinking about starting a newsletter just to update the families about what we've been working on in Google Classroom, the skills we've been targeting, different technology, how they can support their learners at home as well. One of the things that makes us really proud to work in Long Beach is the faculty-led collections and distributions that we've been experiencing. Not just ENL, I mean, we've done our fair share with assisting families in need, bringing collection baskets, donating money. But as a community, as a district, we've all been supporting, delivering food, and being those people that really just care about these families and are there for them in a time of need. We've also had a lot of successes with our co-teachers. We've done a lot of planning through the video calls, through Zoom, Google Meet. So that's been effective in the planning process for our co-taught classes. And finally, throughout this whole process, being home and still teaching, I think that it's a great opportunity for all of us to discover new technology, to take advantage of webinars, participate in a lot of the Twitter chats. So I know Ashley and I have a few favorites that we've been participating in, but we're just looking at opportunities to build our professional learning networks as ENL educators.
Yes, and with all of the highlights, of course, we'd be lying if there weren't challenges, as I'm sure a lot of educators are finding right now. So as previously mentioned, I think earlier in the presentation, students and families did not have internet access, so they weren't maybe necessarily receiving the emails because they didn't have the internet. So through our phone calls, there are some providers that were providing the free internet, like Altis. So with our help of our director and the guidance counselor and other ENL teachers in our district, making those phone calls to be consistent and follow up with the families to ensure that they were able to get their internet. Something else at first that we found was when calling parents, we were using a blocked number, and some parents wouldn't answer a blocked number, and then maybe we couldn't leave our callback number if we wanted our number to be private. So using things like Google Voice and Propio and Remind definitely help alleviate that problem. And then just motivating students who are still working. So a lot of our high school students are still working at various restaurants and pharmacies. And also dealing with family trauma, like families that are experiencing family members with COVID, losing jobs, things like that. So just really making sure that the students and families know that we're here for them as people, as teachers, and just really trying to motivate them to do the best that they can, and to know that we're here.
You can go to the next slide.
Thank you.
So at the secondary level, we're fortunate because a lot of our students, all of our students actually, receive Chromebooks. So we've been using Google Classroom and a lot of technology resources prior to the school's closing. So that is one positive with the Long Beach School District. They are very big on the one-to-one computer initiative. So we are Google Doc, Google Slides, districts. So one of the resources that I found to be very successful, especially with my co-teacher for English 9, is Screencastify. So we just find, not just for the L's, but for the students, for all populations, Screencastify is great for guided instruction. So we use it a lot to teach new material, review, pre-teach vocabulary. We are doing Romeo and Juliet right now, which can be a little bit difficult teaching, outside of the classroom, but we are finding a lot of success. Screencastify is also great for modeling a process. So for my standalone class, I teach the transitioning level students, and it's great to just show them the steps if I want them to sign up for a new account, for a new program. I used it for Flipgrid during the school year. So it is a great way for them to see the end product and to walk them through the steps in a very manageable way. So what I want to show everyone is a Screencastify that my co-teacher and I created for our English 9 classroom. Again, we were doing Romeo and Juliet before the school closed. So this Screencastify is using the website of bubble.us, bubbl.us, and it's a mind mapping online tool that we found a great success with our students since we were working on this before the school closed. So, Erica, whenever you're ready.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to show you the email address, and then you'll click Create New Mind Map, and then it'll give you the screen. So start here. I would write Act 2, and then say you want to bold your lettering. You can bold it, italicize, make the font bigger. Now, of course, when we did this in school, we used lines and circles to extend. So you can click the plus sign if you want to create another box. Say you don't want to create the other box, you can use the X to delete it. If you want to create a line and keep building off of the squares, you simply click the plus signs. If you want to create one going this way, you can move them around like this. And then, of course, add more text. Friar Lawrence. Want to add something? Agrees to marry Romeo and Juliet. So once you're done with your mind map, you can click share in the corner. You can get a link or embed, and you could share it with Mrs. Farrell and I.
Okay. Thank you, Erica. So this is just a tool that we found to be very successful. We've used it so far with Romeo and Juliet. I've given my L's kind of like a vocabulary building exercise also to mirror what we're doing if I see that they're struggling. So they've also been using the mind map for vocabulary, coming up with synonyms for important words that we're coming across in each of the acts and scenes. But ultimately, at the end of each act, students use this website to create a visual representation of all the important plot events, characters, vocabulary terms, and we're looking to display all of this into like a class-made booklet, and then that way it's a good resource as we move forward with Romeo and Juliet. Okay.
So one thing that I realized when we transitioned to virtual learning was the need to have an organized Google Classroom, as this is the main platform that I use with my standalone and my co-teaching classes. So one of the big things that I love is that you can schedule assignments ahead of time. And this is beneficial because if you're planning a unit, you can upload everything that you want for that unit and schedule them to come at different times. With that comes the differentiation piece. So as you can see in the screenshot, it says like, this is for my ENL entering emerging class. And then there's a drop down arrow. If I drop down that arrow, I can select which students from the class I want to receive that assignment. And then on another assignment, I would, assign the other students. So everyone's getting an assignment, but it's just differentiated and they don't necessarily see the assignment that they shouldn't be seeing. They're just seeing what they should be working on. Again, this is very student friendly. So as you can see in the bottom, I've organized my Google Classroom really by week. And I find that that's beneficial because if students are working or had a tough week and maybe couldn't get on the computer for X, Y, and Z reasons, they know, okay, last week I didn't do any work. Let me go back to April 13th to 17th. Let me see the classwork assignment that I missed. Also, as you can see, I set, reminders for the students, although I have very, very flexible due dates to take into account everyone's personal life and that this is a really tough time. And we do really need to be understanding of students that maybe doing schoolwork is not their number one priority as they're battling a lot of various, complications at home. So it's also good for me to see, okay, what has been assigned, what's scheduled, and you can modify this at any time that you see fit. And then if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide.
So this is one of our assignments that we posted during our spring break period for the students. So we wanted to focus on social emotional learning, and Ashley actually found this amazing resource from Twitter, and we kind of just adapted it to.
Yeah, so it's called My Stay at Home Journal, and it's really a way to connect with our students on a really personal level. So some of the topics might be like, write about your feelings. What do you see when you look outside your bedroom? What are some things you miss? What's your comfort food? What's something good that came out of this? And the reason I love using Google Slides is that each slide that students were writing on, I could easily make a comment back to them. So if students said, these are my pet birds and these are their names and I love watching them fly around the house, I could leave a really encouraging comment. And also we did give the students the opportunity to take real pictures, or if they did not have that option, they could find Google images. They could find whatever images they wanted to make their journal, more lively and welcome us into their lives. And it did allow for like a vulnerability between the students and ourselves to really, really connect with the students. And as you have heard, Brianna and I both teach different levels, but this is something that could be modified to any ENL level, any class, anything, just lets them really express themselves in an online journal type of way.
Right, so we were able to, at the transitioning level, my expectations for my students, they had to write a paragraph response, and I gave them a writing checklist. They had to answer in a complete sentence, topic sentence, use sophisticated vocabulary words, and then with Ashley, it might have looked a little bit different, the same high rigor, but the amount of the student produced work could vary depending on the level. So again, it's easily differentiated for whichever level you're working with the L's for. And then these are just some of the screenshots that we took from our students' journals. And this was a way, again, as Ashley said, just for us to connect with the students. We felt like we learned so much about our students that we didn't already know about, you know, what's going on at home, their siblings, they work in the community, they have multiple jobs. So things that we didn't learn about necessarily back in September, it's kind of like coming out now in a safe space, and we are giving productive, constructive feedback so they know that, of course, we are reading and acknowledging their thoughts. So.
We do have a couple of requests. If you could share the journal, some
Yes.
people are really responding to that. They really, really like that tool that you used. I love how we saw before Erin and Stacy ended on that note of friendship and laughter. And now we have Ashley and Brianna, you know, ending on the note of social emotional learning. So it really just reinforces that notion for all of us, how important that social emotional piece is at this time, not only for our students, but for our, you know, for ourselves as well as teachers. So thank you so very much. Here is the email information for Brianna and Ashley if you'd like to reach out to them. And we really encourage you to use each other as a resource. You know, that's the whole point of this collegial circle today, is being able to build each other's capacity. So continue the conversation after today's presentation. Thank you so much, Ashley and Brianna.
Thank you.